firefighter, nurse, real estate investor, podcast host. Timothy Lyons does it all. And today we're going to talk to him a little bit about his life and his world, what it's like to be a New York firefighter, and what it's like to get into real estate. Let's get into the fight.
Ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know.
There you go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Real Estate from the Foxhole. Today, I've got another illustrious and amazing guest. This time, he's got an accent and he fights fires. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got my guest, Mr. Tim Lyons. Mr. Tim, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great today. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking very forward to this conversation, that's for sure.
As am I, brother, as am I. So to give people context as to who you are and what you do, Tim, if you could please give them a little bit of background.
Yeah, so 41 years old. I am a dad of 3 girls, 12, 9, and 4. So I feel like I'm in the foxhole quite a bit. Maybe just a little different than we're usually, thinking about. But yeah, I mean, I've been a New York City firefighter for about 18 and a half years.
Wow.
I did that right out of college. I graduated Providence College May 15th, and May 31st, I'm in the fire academy, with my dream job, right?
Right.
So, grew up right outside of New York City in New York on a place, people might have heard of. It's called Long Island, right? So very kind of middle class upbringing. Never really talked about money unless there was an issue with money, right? And then in that case, I really didn't want to be a part of that conversation. So really kind of grew up with like this really scarcity type mindset about money, about finances, very kind of scared, very used to the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. And, it hit me in my probably later teenage years that I don't want to continue that. I don't want to have that be my life.
Right.
So I was pre-med for about 15 minutes until I started partying in college. And then, so that went out the window. And then I tried about every major under the sun while enjoying myself. And then I became a New York City firefighter, right? And like a lot of firefighters, I had a second career. I didn't realize this at the time, but a lot of firefighters have 2 jobs because we work 24 hours on, and then we have maybe 2, 3, sometimes 4 days off. So it lends itself nicely to dovetailing with a second career. So a lot of guys do like HVAC type work, or plumbing, heating, contracting, building stuff, carpenters, electricians. And I'm going to have you know that I am allergic to a hammer. Been born that way. So I didn't have those skills, right? I had to use my mind. I was a college boy.
Right.
So long story short, I became an ER nurse, did that for about 10 years in a level 1 trauma center. And now I'm going to leave it right there if you want to unpack any of that. But that was the pregame to my real estate experience.
Yeah, let's unpack it, bro. Let's unpack it. So you being a New York kid, growing up in New York, doing all the New York things, what led you to say, all right, of all the things that you could do, I'm going to take firefighter as the one, right? Coming out of college, and I know you went straight into a college, but I know, like you said, that wasn't all your plan. So what drove you? How did that process go to become a firefighter for you?
All right. If you promise not to laugh at me, I'll tell you. You ready?
I make no promises, but go for it.
Okay. All right. Good. So when I was about 8 or 9 years old, Santa Claus brought me a police scanner, which is something that you can people don't know that. It's like a little CB radio that you can program to your local, police stations and fire stations and hear their radio chatter. Yeah. And I would attach it to my bike and I would literally chase the fire engines all over town, right? If there was a call, I would be first on scene. If there was a fire, I was there all night, just like watching these guys work, and I was obsessed. Right. And then I go to college, and as I'm in college, September 11th, 2001 happened. And being from the greater New York City area, my father worked in New York City. I mean, you name it, like aunts, uncles, neighbors, friends of friends, coaches from Little League. I mean, the amount of emotion that I had being 3.5 hours away from home and watching this unfold on TV in real time was pretty crazy, And as the night went on and into the next day, I learned that my Uncle Al, who was a captain in the New York City Fire Department, he was assigned to the Marine Division, which means the boats. Right. He had taken a boat from the Brooklyn Navy Yard across to the seaport, and he was crushed under, the Twin Tower, Tower 2. But before he had left the station, he bought this special radio. At the time, the radios were kind of archaic. So he brought this special radio that he could communicate to the borough dispatchers. So it's like a powerful type radio. And he was able to tell the dispatchers where he was. And he was one of the last people pulled out alive from the rubble, and he's still with us to this day. But after he was in the ICU in Jersey City Medical Center for several months, and that sealed it for me. Watching that on TV, watching it for the next 30 days, probably when I should have been going to class, and I was watching every news station and understanding who we lost and having that family connection to my Uncle Al. I decided that basically September of 2001 that I'm going to be a New York City firefighter. That's it. Wow. It's a childhood dream, and now I felt it in my gut. I've been trusting my gut for a very long time, and that was it. That was a story about how I really decided to lean into the firefighting.
Man, that's an epic story. First of all, I can always see the biopic. I know exactly how we're going to do the intro. So when you're ready, just give me a call. We'll set all that up. Now, with everything, man, that's just with everything that you went through with that. Outside of course, that particular moment in time, what's been kind of the most impactful thing you've done or that you've experienced as a fighter outside of course, that situation with your uncle?
As a firefighter? Oh man, I tell you, I've worked in some pretty busy neighborhoods in 18 years. Crown Heights, Brooklyn, and now I work in Corona, Queens, which another very poor, very populated neighborhood, and that brings a certain set of problems with it. I don't know if I could pick one, but I mean, I've had so many positive, great days at work, and I've had a handful of soul-sucking, incredibly sad, days. But my most proud one, I mean, I've been involved in the birth of three children. I was awarded a medal on the steps of City Hall back in, June of 2008 for saving an old man from his burning apartment. Just having people, fall through the floor into a basement and it being able to pick them up out of the hole. And I mean, just so many things I'm just trying to rattle off, just being able to say that I'm a New York City firefighter and take that. And I know what that means, and the people I work with know what that means. And there's a special kind of love and a special kind of bond that comes with that. So I don't know if that truly answered your question because there's so much that I'm proud of. But that's just the tip of the spear.
Well, no, I think it does, and I think you just kind of wrapped it up as you said, the tip of the spear, which is funny because it's a military term as well. But just the tip of the spear, being that you've done just those things, just that's the very top of the iceberg, and we're not even. Of course, we can't have enough time to go into all of it, but I do want to know. What does that mean? Because for somebody who's from the outside looking in, I don't know what it means to be a New York firefighter, right? I know what it means to be a New Yorker. I've lived in New York, spent time in New York. I know a lot of New Yorkers. That much I do understand. But I don't know what it means to be a New York firefighter because if you compare a New York firefighter to other firefighters in other parts of the country, there's a different level of love and respect that you can visibly see. You can even feel it when you're in New York. So I want to know what does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, we've had firefighters visiting us, since I've been a probie, right? And they'll come from Chicago or Providence or Boston or, somewhere down south. And they're like, man, this is the New York City firehouse. And they have a ton of questions. And I'm like, well, you do the same thing. It's just down there, or over there. And but there is something, about the New York City Fire Department. We're big, we're busy, we're I think the largest in the country, if not the world. It's there's a lot of action, right? And there's a lot of being on the forefront of, say, research and development and using new tools. And, when the New York City Fire Department, pilots the tool, and we accept it and we put it into service in our first line apparatus, all of a sudden, the sales for that tool go through the roof because every other department wants to kind of use that as well. Right. So it's cool. It's cool to be a part of that. Right. It's always, it's like being on an all-star team or being on a team that always wins. Right. Like, it's just like, it's being a part of that team, trying to, leave it better than than when you got there. And, there's a human capital piece to the New York City Fire Department that is, I think, unprecedented. There is a tremendous amount of pride. There is a tremendous amount of humility and aggressiveness that's all kind of mixed into one, and it's just part of the job. And it's crazy, right? Because there's been trainings where corporate America comes to our fire academy and they're like, we've been trying to build culture for 50 years and we can't do it the way that you guys seem to have it down. Like, what is your special sauce, right? The military has been done trainings, the Army, the Marine Corps, we're constantly, doing these, types of trainings with each other to learn best practices. And I think when you're a part of that, it's pretty special.
Yeah. No, it's definitely 100% special. I don't know. It's interesting to be able to talk to someone who's actually been through it and experienced it. From the outside in, like I said, it's a different look, it's a different feel, and it's really impressive to see. Now, with that said, all the stuff with what you're doing as a firefighter, and you're doing real estate, and you're still a family man. I know we talked a little bit about the sleepless nights before we hit the record button, but what does that balance look like for you? Or does that balance even exist? Because I don't believe it. I believe it does. I just believe as you guys, as a family grow and you grow in business, it kind of shifts. What is your belief on the family work balance?
I'm better at it today than I ever was. And I'll be better, in the future than I am today. And, I think it's taken, being a dad and being a husband and being a human, it's been a learning curve, right? It's been a learning journey for me. I've had my good times and I've had my bad times. But once once I really settled into the fatherhood, identity, it was, it's not about me anymore. It's about them, right? So I could have a horrific 24 where I might have seen some death and destruction, or I might have had some issue or, whatever. And I have an hour drive home, and, that's my time to decompress, because when I walk in that door, they don't really care about the third alarm and the fatal fire that we had. They don't care about the person that jumped off the building and splattered onto the ground. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to know about it. They just want to think daddy is home, right? And sometimes that's hard to separate, and it is hard. And so I've had to really kind of train myself to, whatever it is, country music, podcasts, I don't know, silence sometimes, because when I walk in the door, it's game on for family time. And, so that's the balance. I mean, there's never going to be a 50-50 split of like, oh, I'm dedicated to my work and I'm dedicated to my family. Like, nah, it is a work in progress. And I think it's really, setting your intentions, not only for the day, for the week, for the month, for the year, but setting your intentions and your goals, and then, writing them down at least once, and I don't even care if you do it in the beginning of the year and don't write them down again. I suggest that you write them down daily. But when you focus your mind on being a good dad, on being a good husband, on being a good firefighter, on being a good person, you tend to stick to what you surround yourself with. And that would be my best advice for anybody.
I like it. That's great advice. You talked a little bit just now about your goal setting. I know in military, we've got a certain kind of discipline that comes with that. I'm sure you as a firefighter also have it. What is right now your goal with, the podcast, the Passive Income Brothers podcast, as well as Cityside Capital, as well as, of course, whatever you're doing on the side? What's the real estate goal for you right now as it stands?
It's a great question. And my kind of off the cuff answer is I want to be able to have the freedom to do what I want to do when I want to do it with whom I would want to do it with.
Right.
And that can sound cliche, right? But when I drill it down for people, it's, I don't need the Maserati. I don't need the BMW or the Mercedes. I don't need the G6. I don't need any of that. But what I want to do is have optionality. If my kids want to go to Duke University and it costs $70,000 a year, well, guess what? I want to be able to pay that. I want to be able to provide that for my family. If they want to go, if we want to have a vacation, if we want to go to private schools, if we want to eat out one extra night per week, if we want to go to the a theme park, I want to be able to go on all the rides and get all the experiences rather than, penny pinching and scraping and living that scarcity life that I used to live. Right. That's what I want. Right. And, how do you wrap your head around that? How do you put that into a goal form? It's taken me a long time to, write and rewrite that goal. But that's really, truly what it is. And what I found is that by sharing my story, by being on a ton of podcasts as a guest, I love to podcast. I've gotten a ton out of it, right? For as much as I've done, guesting on podcasts, I've gotten great phone calls. I've gotten great emails. I've actually met up with people that heard my story and said, I want to take you out for a cup of coffee or something. Wow. And that to me has been huge. And that's why I started my podcast, because even if I had all the money in the world tomorrow, I would still wake up and I would still get on a podcast because this is what I love to do.
I love it. And I think the listeners and viewers are going to be forever grateful as we continue this interview and talk a little bit more about what you do as far as real estate is concerned and be able to listen to your story on firefighting. What did that first deal look like for you? What was that like? Because at the time it had to be nuts because you're doing your firefighting thing, right? You're running around after the kids, and this deal comes up. What was that? What was that very first deal for you? What was going through your mind when that happened?
So let me set the table for you, right?
Okay, here we go.
So here it is. It's 2019. Okay. And I'm so that's 4.5 maybe years ago, and so my oldest is only maybe like 7 or 8, and then the other one is maybe, 4, and then it's a brand new one. And I'm like, man, I am getting crushed. I'm working, 2 24s a week, right, plus maybe 24 of overtime. There's 72. I'm working 1 or 2 shifts in the hospital, 12-hour shifts. There's, 84, and there's 96. So 96 hours in a week of work, right? Yes, some of it's overtime, perfect. Some of it's, extra money, second career, perfect. Right. But I was trading my time, my valuable time. It's a precious commodity, and I was spending it the way that I was taught, go to work and get paid, pay your bills, save money, max out the 401k, buy a house, the whole thing, right? And that's what I was doing. And it was working for a long time. I felt good. I had 2 jobs that I was very proud of. And I was, I was an ER nurse. I was a firefighter. There was no 2 days were ever the same. Except that I was feeling it. My wife was feeling it. My kids were feeling it. I'd come home. I was dead tired. I probably wouldn't be myself. Talk about work-life balance. I'd get home late during witching hours, right? They're crazy. They're crying. It's 8:30 and we're trying to get them to bed. And then I'm gone before they wake up in the morning. And they're like, dude, where are you? Like, I haven't even seen you. So keep that in mind when I tell you that I was I felt it. I had to do something different. Right. So I started on the journey, the books, the podcasts, library books. I found out what Audible was. I found out that my local library had an Audible type app that was free, and I can get 10 downloads per month. And I was like, wow, right? So here I am. Now it's July of 2019. I'm on the beach, North Carolina, Outer Banks, town called Corolla. We go there every year. I got 3 kids. I can't put this book down. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And I know it sounds cliche. I know every podcast has this book, right? And I can't put it down. Now, this book was in my firehouse overnight bag for over a year. Wow. And I never took it out. But on vacation, I was determined to change it, change that. And that was the beginning. So July of 19, I read the book. I told my wife on the beach while my kids are going crazy, book in one hand, beer in the other. And I said, I am going to be a real estate investor. And she's like, yeah, Tim, you do that. Great. You let me know. Just put that beer down and let's go build a sandcastle. And I'm like, cool. So by November of 19, I am closing. So 4 months later, I'm now closing on a 3-unit property in New Haven, Connecticut, an hour and a half from my house. Because I couldn't find anything that cash flowed in the New York City, Long Island area that was maybe not a single family either. I was scared. I was scared to death. I have to tell you, I was scared to death. I am risk averse. I am cheap. I didn't have a ton of capital to start spreading all over the place and make mistakes. And here I am. I grabbed a friend of mine who I knew was in the same boat. I said, do you want to do this? He said, absolutely. So we did it together, which was nice. We each brought $50,000 to the table. We bought a 3-unit property that was $276,000 purchase price, $6,100 a year in property taxes. The gross rents at the time were just over $3,000. So I was hitting that proverbial 1% rule that you hear about. That's hard to come by these days. And we did it. Right. We had, instant cash flow. And I told you I was allergic to a hammer, but he and I, my buddy Craig, he's also allergic to tools. Right. We gutted through the first unit and we put down LVP flooring, a lot of YouTube videos. We painted, we replaced some hardware, some light fixtures. I mean, it was epic. It took about 6 weeks for someone who actually knew what they were doing. Could have taken a week. Right. But we were able to charge a little bit higher rent. So now, right out of the gate, we are cash flowing anywhere from $400 to $500 each a month, right?
Let's go.
And right, and but I was nervous, right? So I just kept all that money. I was like, something's gonna break, the hot water heater, something, whatever. And part of that $50,000 each that we brought, we also put a new roof. Well, we paid for a new roof for the property, and we put vinyl siding, right? So we immediately brought an incredible deferred maintenance up to snuff, right? We gave it great curb appeal, and we were able to renovate that first 4 units. So we were really doing the thing, and I wanted to be the landlord. I wanted that education. I wanted to be the guy. But it's an hour and a half away. Yeah. I already work 96 hours a week. I just told you that, right? So now, when the leaves fall, and now Greg and I are like, dude, it's your turn. No, I went last time, man. It's your turn. All right, great, cool. So it's an hour and a half there, hour and a half home, and probably 2 hours there. So I'm gone the entire day. My wife's like, I thought this was going to be passive income, right? And remember you told me that there was some passive income involved? And I'm like, yeah, no, baby, that comes, but in the beginning, it's a little tough. And so then COVID hits. And I had left real estate. I left the hospital. I affectionately tell people that I retired from being a nurse in February of 2020. And COVID hit in March, about 30 days later. Because I doubled down and I said to myself, I'm going to be a real estate, entrepreneur, and I wanted to get into multifamily. So I joined a multifamily education platform called Jake and Gino. And I was going to study with them. I was going to mastermind with them. I was going to learn everything I could from them. I was going to work from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. while my girls were in school. Right. And then COVID hits. And that's when it got real.
So COVID hitting, I think, is a time frame it got real for a lot of people. I can relate. I can 100% relate to being allergic to tools and not wanting to do it because I've had to do it and I don't want to do it again. And I guarantee there's going to be a deal someday. And my behind's going to be the one that has to go in there and take the tile out, which is a horrible experience. Tiles flying all over the place and you got glasses on. It's rough. But so you hit pandemic time hits. How does that impact? I know how it impacts you and the family. Of course, you're going to be more home more often. But with what you do, you're still going to be out in the streets a little bit as well. How did that impact the property and the deals that you guys had coming in?
So luckily, again, setting the table for the listeners, there was a cancel rent movement. There was COVID. Nobody could go to work, right? So it was essential workers only. Who's an essential worker? I don't know. It changed by the day, right? There was so much uncertainty out there. I was scared to death. I'm like, man, thank God I saved that $500 a month in cash flow because I think these people aren't going to pay. Meanwhile, they did pay, and I think 2 out of 3 of them even got like side hustles, like working for Amazon. And because the demand for Amazon when there was this lockdown, Amazon went through the roof, right? Everybody was home taking their stimulus checks and buying stuff, right? So luckily I was okay, right? I still had 3 paying tenants, but I had already committed to real estate. I had already committed to paying $25,000 out of my death grip because I'm so cheap for this education, Jake and Gino multifamily education. Because I wanted to do commercial real estate. I've heard on the podcast all these people doing commercial real estate, net operating income, forcing appreciation. I'm like, this sounds like me. I need to do this. But now I just paid this money and now the world stopped. And I'm like, oh my God, like what did I do? This is the worst possible time to get into real estate. Right. So to also just let your listeners know, when COVID first hit, I didn't exactly know. Nobody knew what was going on really. Like there was people dropping dead in the street. They were talking about ventilators, shortages of ventilators, shortages of ICU beds. I mean, it was a little bit, rough in that first couple of weeks. Right. And I work in a very poor socioeconomic area in New York City, and it spread like wildfire. So to give you an idea, we do about 5,000 runs a year. That's fire and EMS and everything else. So we're kind of busy, we're kind of running out the door a lot, and going here, there, and everywhere. It was as if the fire stopped, the car accident stopped, odors of gas stopped, gas leaks stopped. And all we did for 24 hours a day, every day, was CPR. We would literally take up from one CPR run, decon our equipment, go back in service. And as soon as I hit, the in-service button on the laptop computer that we have in the cab of the rig, another one would pop up and another one and another one and another one. It was crazy. So I ended up moving out of my house for 8 weeks, almost 9 weeks. I moved into my mother-in-law's house. She moved into my house to help my wife with the kids. And it was a little bit of a dark time, right? I just spent all this money on an education program. The world is kind of crazy. And I said to myself, you know what? I am going to lean in to this process. I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to meditate. I don't even know how to meditate, but I was going to do it anyway. I was going to write down my goals. I was going to read for like 3-4 hours a day. And then I was going to make phone calls to brokers and to bankers. And I was going to establish relationships. And I was going to get the reps in because that's what my coaches were telling me to do, right? Keep my head down, keep working, keep moving the ball up the field. I know the world sounds like it's crazy. We've been through this before, and they were great. This is why you pay for coaching. This is why you have mentors and masterminds. And that's what I did. And I wish I had some recordings of those early phone calls. I'm sure they were terrible. So I apologize to the bankers and brokers who I called on. But during that time, my coach, my first deal as a multifamily entrepreneur, my coach, he got a 43 unit under contract in Pennsylvania, and he invited me onto the deal. He gave me an opportunity of a lifetime to join him on that deal, to see the due diligence, the debt, the, all the working parts of the behind the scenes of a real estate syndication for a 43 unit in York, Pennsylvania, $5.7 million purchase price. We raised about $3.1 million in equity to close. And that was with, COVID in full effect. We closed on that property in September of 2020. Wow. So, the law of the first deal kicked in right after that. And before I knew it, I was looking at 2 more multifamily deals before the year was out. And I was rocking and rolling.
That's amazing. It's always wonderful to hear that the law of one still holds true. I've yet to see any investor who's done that first deal and they don't get another phone call. And you talked a little bit, you mentioned a couple times about leaning in to what you're doing. When you leaned into these phone calls, and not just for me, but for the listeners as well, what was your goal when getting on the phone call with, say, a broker, or of course they're going to be 2 different styles, but a broker versus a banker? What was your goal? Like, what was your main aim when getting on those phone calls, and how'd you navigate that conversation?
So, several things. I was terrified to be on the phone. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't have any credibility. I've had imposter syndrome, right? Oh, big whoop. I have a 3-unit with a friend of mine, and I make $500 a month. Look at me. I'm now in the big leagues, apparently, with spreadsheets and net operating income. I was terrified. I was literally terrified to be on the phone. And my coaches were like, dude, you got to get these reps in. You have to establish relationships. So after I figured out where I wanted to invest, what markets were going to be my markets, I said, you got to start calling brokers. They need to know your name. They need to know your email address. They need to know who you are, what you're looking for, what's your buy box. What can you do? Are you bringing your money? Are you going to raise money? All these things are, factored into who they call first when they have an off-market deal or a new deal or whatever. So, and the same thing for the bankers, right? Because I was looking for smaller deals, maybe 6 to 25 units, something like that. So I had to, establish a relationship with a local bank or several local banks. So that was truly my goal, to number one, to get out of my comfort zone. Number 2, to get reps in, and number 3, to establish relationships with these folks. And I remember one call where I called a local savings bank, the real estate guy at the local savings bank. I think it was in Virginia. And I'm like, hey, my name is Tim Lyons, from Cityside Capital. And, I just wanted to introduce myself to you and kind of let you know what I'm up to and what I'm looking to do. And he's like, I'm sorry, are you looking for real estate? And I'm like loans right now? And I'm like, yep, yes, sir, absolutely. He goes, yeah. He's like, I'm up to my eyeballs in PPP loan applications. We're not even looking at real estate right now. So I don't know if you looked outside lately, but we're locked down. We're in a COVID crisis. So why don't you call me back in maybe a year or so? Thanks, bye. And I was like, okay, right. But those are the types of calls that I was having, right? And, when you get that kind of call, like I could have just closed up my notebook and said, you know what, this is not for me. And that guy could have crushed me, right? And I said, you know what, who's next on my list? And I made the next call, right? And by doing that, it gave me confidence. It gave me clarity. There was other calls, obviously, that have worked out in my favor, right? Because now they all right, yeah, I'm sorry, who are you again? You're from New York and you want to invest down here? Perfect. You'll be on my email list. There was a lot of calls like that. So I'm saying, all right, this works, and before you knew it, I was getting deals sent to my inbox. Here's an off-market deal. Here's a portfolio deal. Here's a LIHTC deal. I didn't know what LIHTC even was. The low-income tax credit deals, right? And I'm saying to myself, like, and I'm bringing them to my coach, and I'm like, dude, this actually works. And he goes, I know. That's why I told you to make the calls. So that's how it got started.
I love it. Yeah, I didn't even know what LIHTC was until just now. I've never even heard of LIHTC. Short term, long term, Airbnb, garden style, walk up. Never heard LIHTC. That's dope. I wrote that down.
Yes, low income tax credit deals. Yep.
Interesting. Okay. So, man, oh man. So you've done so much with that. Now that you're in the position where this stuff is coming in, how have you set up Cityside Capital to allow you to be able to go to work and everything is still cranking? Because from what I understand how it sounds, you're still going into work, of course, like normal. And you've got to have some kind of team behind you. What has that process been like to build that up?
Good question. I'll bring you to where we are today, and then I can work backwards from there. So today, we have a virtual assistant that helps us out. Okay. Very, very strong limiting beliefs about engaging somebody in the Philippines to have my passwords and my usernames and access to my entire life, right? Yeah. But fortunately, there's great people out there. There's software that can help us out. So we do have that. That's number one. Number two is that we just made our first hire. We are recording this in mid-October 2023, and we just brought on somebody that has 20 years of experience on Wall Street, heard me on a podcast, and we talked to him through the summer, and I'm happy to say we just brought on our first person.
So congratulations.
Thank you. I never thought I was going to say that. So that's where we are today. Let me bring you back, though.
Okay.
I retired from nursing, right? I leaned into the real estate thing, didn't have any revenue, no profit, and I'm laying out money like there's no tomorrow, going to conferences, airfare, hotels, meals, website. My brother is my partner, by the way. The only fight we've had in 4 years are about income and expenses, because we both grew up with that scarcity crazy mindset. And we lost a deal, an off-market deal, because the guy's like, I live in Alaska, and he had apartments in Virginia. Right. And he goes, I can't find a blessed thing about y'all on the internet. You don't have a website. You don't have a LinkedIn page. You don't have anything. I don't even know if you guys exist. So for that reason alone, I'm out. Wow. And I'm like, okay, we need a website. And at the time, I got a quote, I don't know, $4,000 for a website. I'm like, dude, we need a website. We need something. He's like, we don't need a website. We need a deal. And I remember where I was. I was in the Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru, and I'm like, we don't need a dang deal. We need a website. And since then, we've had a lovely work, relationship, and I love him to death. And, but that was our only fight. So anyway, little by little, right? We got a website. Then we had some credibility, right? Because now we had a website. Now we had somewhere to people to go to find out about us. We had a lead capture. We had a lead magnet. We gave something of value for free for people to exchange their email addresses. And then we started building our email list and started adding value by doing newsletters. And when I was a guest on any kind of podcast, we send it out to to our email list. And then word of mouth would start. And then we did 3 deals in 2020. We raised over $1 million. Between Greg and I, we thought we couldn't raise 5 cents, because who's going to invest with two brothers from New York who, one's a firefighter, one was a former college basketball coach, now works in real estate down in Virginia. But we did, right? We raised what did we raise? Like almost 1.3 million over those first 3 deals. Wow. And so once we did that, we were on the general partnership side of these deals. We invested our own money into the deals as well, because we actually really liked the deals. And, being from the greater New York City area, we said to ourselves, you know what? We can make a business around this, right? People need to know what's available to them. People need to know that there's alternative investments to stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds, CDs at the bank, savings accounts. They may not know about private placements. They don't know about 506B and 506C offerings and, real estate syndication and multifamily and self-storage and industrial and Airbnbs and, all these things that are out there that, seem insurmountable if you don't know the right questions to ask or you don't have the know, like, and trust factor. So we saw that, as an opportunity for 2 guys who are, I think likable and who are, I'm blue collar, to the bone basically. And I've been able to, build a nice life for myself by coming out of my comfort zone. So, and we could raise money, right? That was our place on the team. What I found was that real estate, specifically commercial real estate, was a team sport. And, there's a lot of rules and regulations around raising capital. So we decided to get our securities licenses, our Series 82 and our Series 63. Nice. And we aligned ourselves with a broker dealer that deals in commercial real estate offerings. No stocks, no bonds, no recommendations, no, 401k setups or IRA rollovers. No. We have operators that we vet and put them through a very, thorough vetting process. Then we raise capital for their deals alongside of them, and we get paid for it. And it's an awesome setup for me and my brother Greg. And we've been able to, help my dad retire because now he has retirement income every month coming in, and he feels good. So he retired last year, and aunts and uncles and college roommates and friends and family and colleagues. And then, they start getting paid and they're like, man, this is awesome. Oh, and I got a K-1 statement and I had some tax losses that I was able to use against that income that you sent to me. This is really cool. Let me tell some of my friends about this, right? Let me tell my neighbors. Let me tell my colleagues. And then all of a sudden our phones were ringing and our emails were filling up and we're like, wow, this is incredible. So, it was a slow start or a slower start, but then once we were able to add value to people and kind of get the message out, we started to grow pretty quick.
Wow, I love it. Now I know I can't hold you forever. You do have a family to get to, so I'd like to, if it's okay, I'm gonna throw a bit of a curveball in here. I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a while. I'd like to ask you some random questions. We're gonna do 3 random questions, and we'll go right into the troop to task. Now, me and Tim haven't gone over this. I just decided to do this as I was talking to Tim. I don't know, something about Tim gets me going in that direction. So let's do this. All right. So Tim, the first question is, what's your go-to board game?
Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki.
My guy. You know what? We can. All right. We're out. We're leaving. That's it. We're done. Yeah, that's the perfect answer. That's exactly what I think it was going to be. All right. Let's say this. Here's the next one. What's 2 things that are still on your bucket list?
2 things that are on my bucket list. That's a good question. Dang. I'm looking to retire from the fire service at 20 years, which is 18 months away. I'll be 43 years old, and people think I'm crazy for saying that, but that's on my bucket list because I want to be home and I want to be present and I want to be all those things. So that's 1. Number 2, man, I would like to go to Hawaii for a 2-week vacation. Hawaii is one of those things that I never give enough thought to because I just think it's too expensive, and I'm still scarcity mindset a little bit. But I would like to do Hawaii for 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah, that's I can tell you it's not cheap. I've been there a couple times. It's not cheap, but I can tell you it is worth every penny to go out to Hawaii. Hawaii is gorgeous. All right, now last one. This one is going to be a bit different than the others. What was the very first album or CD or vinyl that you had as a kid, and what did it make you feel?
Wow. My very first CD was Smashing Pumpkins' double album entitled 1979.
That's a good one, too.
And
that was a good one.
I don't know. There was something about that style of music at the time. I think I was in like 6th or 7th grade. I just got a CD player, and my friends and I would take turns like buying albums, and then we used to, make tapes, right? Because there was no CD burners back then.
The cassette tape.
And then the cassette tapes. So it was a double album. It was on sale, and I was like, I'm gonna get that one. This way, we can get 2 CDs for a cheaper price. Anyway, so that was also my first concert ever. Was in Sweden on a student exchange trip. In 8th grade, I went to go see Smashing Pumpkins in Sweden. They do it a little different over there.
8th grade? What?
Yeah.
You made out like a bandit.
Oh yeah.
Never happened stateside. That's crazy. That's
crazy.
Awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Okay, now we got the random questions out of the way, and we know a little bit more about Tim. Tim, what is today's troop to task? Troop to task is Tim's going to give you one thing you can do right now to get started in real estate. Tim, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, it's going to be a random answer, but it's going to be, you have to decide that you want to do something different with your life. Because you can go to a conference and you can have all the amped up energy you want, but the minute you hop on the plane and come home, it gets deflated. You get back into the grind. The kids are crying. You have to go to work. The laundry needs to be folded and put away. And all of a sudden you get back and that energy has dissipated. You can listen to a sick podcast like this one that we're doing right now, and you could be amped up. But if you haven't made that commitment, that desire is not there, right? The decision, defiantly committing to the process, you're not going to get anywhere, right? And I got news for everybody. This is what kind of made me go down the direction that I went. Was there's no one coming to save us. There's no rich uncle. There's no lottery number that I'm going to pick that's going to make me a multimillionaire. I decided, and I became defiantly committed to learning about money, to learning about taxes, to learning how the 1% does it, to learning how people make it happen in their own lives on regular salaries, on blue collar type salaries, right? Because I'm not the first guy to do this, and I'm certainly not going to be the last. And, if you listen to enough podcasts out there, you're going to hear stories just like mine, right? Where people take an ordinary life and they make it extraordinary, but they became defiantly committed. They made the decision. So that is your trip to task. That is going to be, it's making the decision and becoming defiantly committed to the process until you're successful.
I love it. If you did not pay attention just now, I'm going to give you one thing that Tim just gave you that you have to remember. Defiantly committed. Tim said it like 4 times. There's a reason he said it 4 times. Defiantly committed. Tim, man, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, brother. This has been an epic discussion. How can people reach out to you and get a hold of you?
Yeah, so my email is tim@citysidecap.com. I'm on all the major socials, Tim Lyons or Cityside Cap or Cityside Capital. We also have a podcast called the Passive Income Brothers Podcast. So check that out anywhere podcasts are listened to. I also wrote a chapter in a book. It's called Bringing Value, Solving Problems, and Leaving a Legacy. So some of you might recognize Robert Helms from the Real Estate Radio guys. He's also in this book. And if you're so inclined, send me an email and I'll send you the ebook for free. And if you want the paperback copy, if you're old school like me and you like to have the paper in your hand, send me an email with your address and I'll send you a free copy of Bringing Value, Solving Problems, and Leaving a Legacy, which was, for a brief time, the #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Ooh, I like it. Ladies and gentlemen, Tim Lyons, we got to go. Bye, y'all. I just see you later. Y'all be cool.
This is Army, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to form 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions know that he is so. This is Army, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that, y'all. Here we go.